Tonight, David Warner goes out in style.
Well, it's game over for the game changer.
A half century and a clean sweep. His emotional send-off at the SCG. Some light at the end of the tunnel. Most residents in the Gold Coast hinterland assured the power will be back on tomorrow. A survey shows people losing faith in our public health system. The AMA warns it's stretched to the limits. The southeast suburbs, where house prices soared in 2023, are families being priced out of the market. 70s TV heartthrob and part-time pop star Starsky & Hutch's David Soul passes aged 80. Are we paying too high a price for tapping and going? The RBA's warning on fees.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Steve Titmus.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks very much for joining us. David Warner has sealed a brilliant career with a Test cricket win at the SCG. The Aussie opener kissed the coat of arms as he bowed out, receiving a standing ovation from players and fans in an emotional farewell.
We've seen him emotional before, but surely this moment would surpass all others. David Warner's last time on the pitch as an Australian Test cricketer.
Now he may have divided opinion, but he dominated opening the batting in Australia for Australia.
His final knock, 57, out after review.
Well, it's game over for the game changer. And David Warner farewells Test cricket.
David Warner's final innings in Test cricket came to an end. There was plenty of drama. It was a wonderful knock.
Yeah, look, it's pretty much a dream come true. And just to come here in front of your home crowd with the support that they've shown me and the Australian cricket team over my last decade or my career, I can't thank them enough.
Oh, absolutely proud, but I'm always proud of my husband, and the girls are always proud of their dad. But an incredible turnout at the SCG today.
You proud?
Yeah.
Walking off the nerves as he headed out for the final innings. An embrace with Usman Khawaja, a friend since childhood.
There's even more emotion being shown there. Take it all in now.
The words on many lips etched into the turf, the milestone etched into history. His appearance well received in the stands. Chipping away at 130.
This is Warner at his absolute best.
It could have been over early.
No control over that at all. He thought that's going straight down that man's throat.
But Warner's freewheeling ways got him to a half century, raising the bat one last time.
And this is a glorious finale.
I love him. He's a good batter. He's always been good for Australia.
He's going to go down as one of the best Australian openers ever.
The average Australian loves him at the end because they're a real fighter.
So how does David Warner want to be remembered?
Exciting, entertaining, and I hope I put a smile on everyone's face.
Tom Hartley, 7 News.
There's a glimmer of light on the horizon for residents in the Gold Coast hinterland who've been without power since Christmas. They're being assured that by late tomorrow, most, if not all, will have electricity finally restored.
Putting the final touches on important repairs, readying to reconnect a cut-off community, recovering from back-to-back weather disasters.
December 25th was a harrowing night for most people.
Tearing through Tamborine Mountain, not one but two destructive blows by Mother Nature, leaving widespread carnage in her wake. Residents in the hinterland, ravaged by the wild weather, have relied on each other for weeks.
Really, the main task for us today was trying to clear a corridor around the power lines and power poles so that some repair work can happen.
Power the priority for repair crews across the region. Thousands of locals have been living in the dark for a fortnight.
We very rarely go into an area where there are over 1,000 wires down. That's almost a record number in this area.
An end to their power problems is near. Energex crews confident the vast majority of homes and businesses will be reconnected by tomorrow night.
They were basically rebuilding the network, new poles, new wires.
We're not taking our foot off the throttle. We have all the resources that we need up in this area to keep working safely to get those supplies back on.
Recovery efforts are continuing closer to the coast as well. The Army arrived in Oxenford this morning, clearing the way for students before the school year starts.
I think everyone's just happy that we're starting to get back to a little bit of normality.
A new kind of normal in a city bludgeoned by weather disasters. Energex crews have been working around the clock to reconnect residents, not just at Tambourine Mountain, but right across the southeast. At the peak of the outages, around 130,000 people were without power. Now that's dropped to just over 1,900. The speed of those repairs significant considering the sizable damage in some of those areas. Steve?
Yeah, Liam Bland there reporting from Oxenford. Well, storms have again spared the southeast, but the region has experienced showers. Laura Dymock, they were widespread.
Widespread but patchy and fast-moving, Steve. Some spots didn't even get enough to register in the gauge, while others picked up falls in the double digits. If we take a look at the radar, you can see the heaviest totals were around the northern suburbs and the Sunshine Coast. Maleny got 28 millimetres, Moreton Island 16. On the other end of the coast, Coolangatta picked up 3. There'll still be a few showers about tomorrow, but maybe a bit of sunshine as well. I'll have the weather forecast a little later. Steve?
OK, looking forward to that, Laura. A new survey has pointed to an increasing number of Queenslanders losing faith in the state's healthcare system. The AMA says the public health sector is stretched to the limit and people are feeling it.
A system under pressure and under fire.
It lacks funds, it lacks resources, and we are all screaming for workforce.
Queensland's poison chalice portfolio, which could cost Labor this year's election.
We have a world-class system here in Queensland. We acknowledge that it is under pressure.
We've had 4 people in the current government have a crack. All of them are some way tied up with the union movement.
A survey today revealing fewer than 1 in 5 Queenslanders trust the current system.
People are certainly feeling the effects of ambulance ramping and long wait lists.
Of the almost 7,000 Courier Mail readers surveyed, 72% say they don't have faith in Queensland's health system. Just 16% say they do. The rest are unsure. When readers were surveyed 4 years ago, more than 50% did trust the system then.
Ambulance ramping in Queensland is the worst in the state, in the country. It is 43%. Prior to COVID, it was 30%.
One key issue Queensland's health system faces is workforce shortages, particularly in regional areas. The opposition and industry leaders say the government needs to work on attracting staff, and it all starts with supporting existing professionals.
They're fatigued and burnt out.
The opposition today vowing to make a change if elected, as well as uncover exactly how satellite hospitals are performing.
I want to give Queenslanders hope that they can trust the health system.
We're going to assess how successful and how they are operating.
Data which could paint an important picture. Anna McGraw, 7 News.
Let's go overseas now, and time is running out to find any more survivors nearly a week after deadly earthquakes rocked Japan. Rescue teams have been working around the clock in freezing conditions. Thousands remain without power, food and water. Hundreds remain cut off from help due to landslides and damaged roads. More than 100 people are now confirmed dead. Disgraced Paralympian Oscar Pistorius is out of prison more than a decade after murdering girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. His parole has sparked outrage across South Africa, with his girlfriend's family saying they're the ones serving a life sentence.
7.5 years after he was jailed, Oscar Pistorius is out, but hardly free. He was secretly released from this Pretoria jail in the early hours, taken to his uncle's expansive gated estate, where he must live for the next 5 years on parole.
He did make a mistake, he served, and then, I think it's high time now he comes back to the community.
I hope to see him one day back on the road, running again.
The Olympic and Paralympic star, dubbed the Blade Runner, was convicted of murdering his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp, firing 4 shots through a bathroom door in 2013. He maintained throughout his televised trial he mistakenly thought she was an intruder. Riva Steenkamp's parents have never believed him. We who remain behind are the ones serving a life sentence.
No amount of incarceration, no sentence, nothing will ever bring Riva back, so there can never be justice.
Having avoided the world's media today, the double amputee is now described as overweight and greying. After working as a prison cleaner, he's reportedly considering becoming a preacher. In London, Hugh Whitfeld, 7 News.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in the Middle East on a mission to prevent Israel's conflict with Hamas spreading beyond Gaza. He's also expected to put pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do more to protect Palestinian civilians and allow more aid into the war zone. Washington is calling for Israel to provide a detailed plan for the future of Gaza when Israel's military offensive ends. It's Blinken's fourth visit to the region since the October 7 terror attacks. Skin cancer specialists are concerned regular checkups are being sacrificed because doctors' appointments are becoming too expensive. They want a nationwide plan to provide free exams to slow rising rates of melanoma.
The age-old campaign, slip, slop, slap, no longer enough, say cancer experts. Too many of us are skipping vital skin checks as seeing the doctor becomes more expensive. Now, experts want free skin checks for people with high-risk skin types.
We're working hard to generate the evidence to determine the exact high-risk skin population that should have screening tests regularly.
A steady drop in the number of doctors who bulk bill means 7% of us are cutting back on health checks. But the federal government isn't ready to make skin checks free.
I think this is a matter that would be determined through advice to government around broad-based population screening programs, and that hasn't been the case to date.
Around 20,000 Australians are diagnosed with skin cancer in a year. 1,000 die from it. Treating skin cancer costs us more than $1 billion. Preventing it can be as cheap as sitting in the shade. Add sunnies, sunscreen and protective clothing. You're well on your way to staying skin cancer free.
Just prevention, and know the skin you're in, and be sun safe this summer.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
The US Supreme Court is said to make an historic ruling on Donald Trump's eligibility to appear on a presidential ballot. The justices acted with unusual speed, agreeing to hear his appeal against the Colorado ban.
In the battleground state of Pennsylvania, Joe Biden opens his 2024 campaign.
Today, we're here to answer the most important of questions. Is democracy still America's sacred cause?
On the eve of the third anniversary of the Capitol riot, the US president warning of the threat to democracy Donald Trump poses, centering his campaign, including a new TV ad on the January 6 assault.
Trump did nothing. It was among the worst derelictions of duty by a president in American history.
Now, the US Supreme Court will decide if the former president is eligible to be in the race, taking up Donald Trump's appeal to a Colorado ruling that barred the Republican frontrunner from the state's primary ballot, finding he'd engaged in insurrection. The Supreme Court decision to have sweeping implications, with challenges filed in 34 other states.
I just hope that they're going to be fair because, the other side plays the ref.
The justices are expediting the case, set down for February 8 as states get closer to primaries. Trump today in Iowa, where he leads other Republican candidates days out from the critical caucuses.
That's why Crooked Joe is staging his pathetic fear-mongering campaign event in Pennsylvania today.
Another historic showdown for the man who continues to court controversy. In the United States, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
The Albanese government will name and shame companies as it looks to close the gender pay gap. From next month, employers with 100 or more workers will have their pay discrepancies between male and female employees published online.
It's about $26,000 a year that women get paid less than men, and we don't think that's fair.
On average, women work fewer hours per week and are less likely to work outside or do dangerous jobs. Friends, family and league royalty have farewelled Carl Webb, the Queensland great whose brave fight with MND inspired so many. It was standing room only in his hometown of Dalby as the town celebrated his legacy.
A fitting farewell for one of Dalby's finest. Legends of League gathering in the small Queensland town, remembering one of their own, Carl Webb.
Sad day, but also a great day to remember a terrific person.
A ferocious forward whose feats of strength are unmatched at the Broncos, revered in North Queensland and the pride of his hometown.
Despite the adversity he was going through, he He gave everyone a shining light.
Everybody's made the effort to get back here, and it's we're grateful for everyone that's shown up.
Former Origin teammates paid their respects. Looking back, Webb's 2001 Maroons debut seemed almost inevitable.
They would pretend to play State of Origin where Carl was always Trevor Gilmeister, the axe.
On the field, he was feared. At home, he was fearless. Diagnosed with motor neuron disease in 2019, an insidious condition as brutal and unforgiving as the hits he'd so often dish out.
Webb comes up. Great shot.
He created the Carl Webb Foundation, raising money and awareness for MND. He succumbed to the disease last month, aged just 42.
We were only given 42 years of this legend, but what a quality 42 he gave us.
187 games and a dozen Origin appearances, paling in comparison to the legacy he leaves behind.
Carl was a rare human, leaves a great legacy for his family to be very proud of.
From his son Hunter, I ask that my dad is not forgotten, but rather remembered. That won't be a problem. The Broncos and Cowboys will pay tribute to him in round 4. Ned Baum, 7 News.
Palestinian flags will effectively be banned at the Australian Open tennis in a move designed to stop disruptive protests. Under the new rules, spectators can only wave national flags at matches and only if a player from that country is on court.
Organisers are prepared for the stars, for a record crowd and to stop Gaza protests like we've seen at other events.
It's scenario planning and we've been through training on it.
They'll strictly enforce the rule that fans can only bring flags to a match featuring a player from that country. Israel's Guy Sassoon has entered the wheelchair event. Several Israelis may also play in qualifying. But no Palestinian players will be here.
You cannot display the flag if your nation is not competing.
Russian flags remain banned. Open officials expect to smash last year's 3-week crowd record of more than 900,000, largely because next week, as well as qualifying, there'll be 4 charity nights featuring 10-time champion Novak Djokovic, 2-time winner Naomi Osaka, reigning Wimbledon champ Carlos Alcaraz and rising Aussie Alex de Minaur. And for the first time, the actual tournament itself will start on a Sunday.
In ticket sales, we are way ahead of where we were the same time last year.
A new initiative for fans this year, a special courtside bar, which organisers hope will create a party atmosphere. Officials admit some players may balk at the rowdiness, but this Grand Slam first is based on golf's famous party holes.
It is just going to go booyah, like it's going to be fantastic.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Queenslanders slugged millions of dollars a year on everyday payments. Up next, threats of a crackdown on hidden fees. Are you being overcharged? A commercial plane door blows out in a terrifying mid-air emergency. The moment a passenger train erupts into flames, see the video. And house prices soar. The Queensland suburbs leaving sellers surprised.
The New Year medical test for all Queensland GPs. The official clinic-by-clinic bulk billing examination.
Massive declines in bulk billing over the last couple of years.
How much are you paying to go to the doctor?
Hitting the hip pockets of everyday Australians.
The new changes. Will it be cheaper for you in 2024? On 7 News, Monday.
And thanks for being with us. Movie World has released new vision of the moment. Staff rescued more than a dozen thrill seekers stuck on one of the park's roller coasters. The DC Rivals Hyper Coaster was stopped around 50 metres off the ground after one of the ride's operators spotted a scarf tangled in a wheel. Patrons were safely escorted down an emergency stairwell yesterday. Movie World says its team was well prepared to respond to the situation. A passenger jet in the US has had to make an emergency landing after one of the doors blew out shortly after takeoff. The sudden drop in pressure caused a child's shirt to be torn off, while some passengers had phones sucked from their hands.
A gaping hole in the fuselage about the last thing you want to see as a passenger.
The plane fell. Like, it was just like the plane fell. I woke up from my nap and then the masks came down. And I think that's when things started getting really scary.
The Alaska Airlines flight took off from Portland in the US. Just 20 minutes later, it was back on the ground. On board, more than 170 passengers and crew. All survived.
There was thankfully no one seated near the window. I think I was just more concerned with the plane dropping, that initial drop. But after that initial drop, and I looked outside, like, it was going pretty smoothly. I think it was just everyone freaking out inside made me like freak out.
Nobody knows yet why the door malfunctioned. This Boeing 737 MAX is just 2 months old. On this particular plane, Boeing includes an extra door between the wing exit and rear exit. A child sitting nearby had his shirt ripped off by the sudden decompression.
I heard like someone's shirt flew off like through the door, and like someone's phone went out the window.
Passengers' phones were torn from their hands.
I think in the moment, I didn't think that there was a whole door missing. Like, when I saw the picture afterwards, like, even when I see it now, I don't believe it.
This after a fatal crash between two planes in Tokyo. A horror week for the airline industry. Sarah Jane Bell, 7 News.
At least 4 people have been killed, 2 of them children, after a train was torched in Bangladesh. The blaze spread rapidly through the carriages and passengers struggled to escape the flames. Police suspect foul play, the incident coming 2 days out from national elections. It's the 8th suspected arson attack on trains since November. Singer Michael Bolton has revealed he's suffering brain cancer. The 70-year-old posted to Facebook that he had surgery on a tumour just before Christmas. He told fans the operation was a success and that he'll be recuperating at home for a couple of months. Queensland house prices defy the odds, leaving property watchers shocked. Up next, the suburbs where sellers are striking gold. Homes underwater and communities cut off as deadly flooding strikes the UK. Tributes to a 70s TV heartthrob, David Soul, passes aged 80. And later, why hot and humid conditions have sparked a deadly virus warning.
On the roads these holidays, then beware.
Totally automatic, catching 1 car per second on film.
You're always in the frame. Flashback 7 News, Sunday at 6.
House prices in parts of Ipswich and Logan have jumped by a quarter in just 12 months. The huge increases have experts worried that families priced out of Brisbane will soon find satellite cities just as unaffordable.
A yard enclosed by a rusting fence, grey weatherboards covered in peeling paint, and an interior stuck decades in the past, and yet
has really doubled over the last couple of years.
Despite backing onto a noisy train line, this home could fetch twice its 2017 selling price.
A couple of years back, this market was probably on the lower end, mid-2s. Now, anything that sort of has that renovation potential could be in that 400, 500 range.
Kingston among Queensland suburbs, which have seen the biggest value increases in the last 12 months. Topping the list, Riverview, Woodridge, Logan Central, Basin Pocket and Kingston. The biggest losses in Sunset, Healy and Soldiers Hill in Mount Isa, Woombye and Peachester on the Sunshine Coast. Experts say the value increases are largely due to families flocking here after they're priced out of Brisbane's housing market. But if values keep increasing at the same rate in Logan and Ipswich, they may need to look even further afield.
I think the concern is, where does it stop? And it's becoming quite difficult, even if you are prepared to go into Greater Brisbane suburbs, to find something that suits your budget.
As the median house price in Brisbane soars above $1 million, even in middle-class suburbs like Sunnybank Hills, this dated home carries a hefty price tag.
Maybe between 1.4 to 1.5, around this price, but auction, anything is possible.
Another hurdle for struggling families. Jordan Bissell, 7 News.
Overseas once again, and tensions on the Korean Peninsula have ramped up, with the North launching a barrage of artillery at 2 South Korean border islands. More than 200 shells were fired, all landing in a buffer zone between the two countries, but civilians in the south were advised to seek shelter. The South called it a provocative act, ordering live fire drills in response. Pyongyang has warned it's readying its military arsenal for war. At least 2 people are dead and more than 1,000 homes are underwater as parts of the UK battle some of the worst flooding in decades. Communities are cut off and now they're being told to brace for a spell of freezing weather.
They heard the warnings, but never imagined it would be this severe. Parts of England and Wales swamped after a week of torrential rain, and on already saturated ground, there's nowhere for the water to go.
Once the water's getting in, it's getting in, isn't it?
With their homes inundated, people packed their bags, carrying their pets and each other out of harm's way. Emergency crews going door to door.
Hello, fire service!
And paddock to paddock. In Leicestershire, they rescued a stranded horse, ferrying it back to dry land. Boats the only means of transport, as entire communities were marooned.
There's nobody here to help us at all. We've been sort of left on our own, really, to fend for ourselves.
And now there's a warning for ice, fog and frost settling across much of the country. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak under pressure to do more.
Absolutely recognise the urgency of what is happening.
Some have taken matters into their own hands. Fed up with flooding, this man built a barrier around his house to keep the water out.
We had, I think it was 9 floods before we decided to build the wall.
Others choosing to look on the bright side.
I welcome you to the annual Rose and Crown boat race.
Flooded in, this pub owner is making the most of it.
1, 2, 3, go!
Jacinta Lee, 7 News.
Australians are being overcharged by $1 billion a year with exorbitant fees on everyday card payments. The new Reserve Bank governor is threatening to clamp down on banks and payment services if it continues.
Whether it's with a bank card or phone, tap and pay has become a daily ritual for most of us.
I just pay whatever it says on the screen.
But sky-high surcharge fees are costing us extra.
There's about $1 billion worth of savings that could be had.
Payment facilitators like the banks are gouging retailers when processing debit card payments, who pass that fee on to customers.
All of this stuff adds up.
I reckon they're profiting just a little bit more than they should.
For example, the average cost of processing a $100 debit purchase through EFTPOS is 28 cents, around 50 cents for Visa and MasterCard, but reader provider Square charges retailers up to $1.90.
This is a David and Goliath battle between small businesses, big banks and big credit card companies.
New Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock is taking on the fight.
Greater use of these electronic methods is also adding to payment costs for businesses.
Calling on payment service providers to implement least cost routing.
The banks are going to have to send these payments down the cheapest pipe.
It's currently used by 54% of merchants. If that figure doesn't rise to 80% by the middle of the year, Michelle Bullock is threatening to enforce least cost routing through new regulations. In a cost of living crisis, it's no surprise she has the government's support.
I think it's one of those issues that really irks Australians.
Josh Martin, 7 News.
Queensland's new multi-million-dollar Top Gun deal locked in. Still to come tonight, the huge win for Southeast workers protecting Australia from the sky. Tributes for Starsky and Hutch star David Soul following his passing aged 80. How hearing aids are helping wearers to live longer. And working from home, would you take a cash bonus to return to the office? $350 jobs at the Amberley RAAF base have been secured for another 5 years. The government signing a new contract for the maintenance and upgrade of Super Hornet fighters and Growler electronic attack aircraft. The $600 million deal with Boeing will carry the program through to 2030. The Hornets were set to be retired in 2027, but the Air Force now plans to continue flying them into the mid-2030s. British-American actor David Soul, who starred in the hit show Starsky and Hutch, has died at the age of 80. His friendship with his 70s co-star lasted a lifetime in a career that covered film, theatre and music.
He was the soul of the 70s.
Wilbur, hold it!
David Soul, born David Solberg, and we all know him as Hutch.
Charlie, I want to leave a message for Huggy Bear.
Starsky and Hutch enjoyed a 92-episode run from 1975 to 79, a 70s staple. It popularised the buddy cop genre action and wisecracks.
It's a great idea, Starsky. Driving's a bit shaky.
Paul Michael Glazer was tough guy Starsky to Sol's Kenneth Hutch Hutchinson.
We were joined in this destiny.
That's what this whole Starsky and Hutch phenomenon was about, is friendship. That's number one. And that's what Paul and I have had for 30 years.
Through the height of success, the pair was no more than work friends, but through the decades since, they were best friends. They also made a cameo in the 2004 movie remake.
I get a good vibe from him.
He went from good cop to bad cop, taking on Dirty Harry and Magnum Force.
What are you going to do next week? Kill a dozen more?
David Soul was a 70s heartthrob, the blonde son of Norwegian descent who could sing too.
And here I am, a million miles from home.
Don't Give Up On Us went to number 1.
Don't give up on us, baby.
He was married 5 times and had 5 sons and a daughter, dying after a valiant battle for life, his family says, in the loving company of family. He shared many extraordinary gifts in the world as an actor, singer, storyteller, creative artist and dear friend.
I was flirting with him and then he took you took him away.
David Soul was 80. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Large corporations are turning to old tactics in a bid to draw workers back into the office. Salary bonuses are set to be the big draw card of the office-based hybrid model. ANZ, Suncorp and Origin Energy are some of the first to tie office attendance to bonuses for some staff. Experts, though, are warning that luring employees by linking promotions to in-office attendance is risky and rewarding the wrong behaviours. Well, this summer's hot, humid weather has sparked an urgent warning as mosquito populations soar. Coming up, what you need to look out for and how to protect yourself from mosquito-borne viruses. That story's just ahead on 7 News. Well, from the Aussies to the Aussies winning, Ben.
Yeah, not just in cricket, Steve, but that's where we'll start. G'day, everyone. A series sweep, but today was all about David Warner. Our greatest test opener anoints his successor. And Hollywood on hand for a Hollywood finish at the Brisbane International. Rafa rolled with an injury scare. He's been dynamic and divisive, but in Australia's 8-wicket win over Pakistan, the SCG stood as one for David Warner's farewell from Test cricket. The hosts lost just 2 wickets, chasing down 130 on day 4. Warner didn't hit the winning runs, instead earning adulation as one last swashbuckling half-century.
Lifelong friend Usman Khawaja let his fellow opener go first onto centre stage.
I will cherish these moments forever, and I didn't have anything to go back with him because I was tearing up.
Test player 426 crossing home turf for the last time. From opponents, officials and commentators, respect.
He only knows one way. He'll come out, he'll be aggressive.
Look, we're in the entertainment business and I'm just happy to come out here and showcase what I try to do all the time.
Khawaja's role, a brief cameo, LBW for a duck, starring in his 112th and final test. David Warner hit on what we'll miss.
4 more, box office. This is Warner at his absolute best. This time the charge and a beautiful strike. Oh, Warner, whack, take that.
The final 50 for the batter builders, our best in all 3 forms of cricket.
And this is a glorious finale.
On 57, an LBW appeal overturned on review. Sajid Khan, a salute, hugs from Marnus Labuschagne. Game over for the game changer.
It's the bull saying goodbye.
Having played T20 for Australia before Test cricket, Warner wants a simple legacy.
I think it's about being brave and bold and sticking to your game plan.
Again, anointing Marcus Harris as his successor.
I spoke about Marcus Harris, and the way that I love about Marcus Harris is he takes the game on.
Sandpaper Gate, leadership bans, pub punch-ups. Warner's been polarising and prolific. Daughters and wife Candice credited with saving his career.
You know, I'm blessed to have her.
37-year-old Warner to finish where he started, playing T20 cricket.
Most importantly, I want to win another World Cup for Australia.
Pat Cummins, player of the series, a 3-0 clean sweep. Warner leading the team song. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
Having swept the one-day series, Australia's all-conquering women were pumped in the first T20 against India. The top order collapsed, losing 4 for 33, including ducks for Talia McGrath and Ash Gardner. Phoebe Litchfield's good form continued, making 49, but couldn't stop India cruising to a 9-wicket win. The world champs vowing a better performance for Elise Perry's 300th international.
There's a lot that I've learnt in the time that I've been here that has been so impactful on just my general life.
Game 2 is tomorrow night. Well, the Heat can secure a Big Bash home final with a win over Hobart at the Gabba tomorrow evening. Unbeaten after 7 rounds, the efforts of an Englishman turned cult hero Paul Walter a major factor.
Fun with a footy, part of the Heat's low-key preps for the Canes clash. 20,000 plus expected. Tall Paul ready to embrace his box office status.
It's stuck, so but yeah, no, I didn't expect it to become such a big thing here, but yeah, loving it. You'd rather it that way than everyone shouting at you in the street if you're playing badly, so yeah, I'll take it.
The 202-centimetre all-rounder indeed standing tall for the Heat. 2 Player of the Match awards from 5 games. He can bowl.
Walter gets his man.
And bat.
Oh, there we go, Tall Paul.
Yeah, things are going well. Obviously, this is what you kind of hope to come in and have a big impact.
Back-to-back Gabba clashes, Khawaja and Labuschagne could make cameos for Wednesday's Scorchers' top-of-the-table blockbuster. Last night, bottom-place strikers sent the second-place Perth packing. Even the entertainment was getting in the swing of things.
The strikers dancers, they can catch. Don't worry about that.
Picked it up beautifully. Chris Lynn also in sync with a half-century. He and Matt Short home with 23 balls to spare, giving the Heat a chance to go 5 points clear on top of the ladder. Sean Lawson, 7 News.
Australian Open organisers are sweating on a draw card, but may have found another after local boy Jordan Thompson derailed Rafael Nadal's comeback. In front of a record Brisbane International crowd, Rafa reached for his dodgy hip as the giant-killing Aussie fought back from a set down to reach the semis. They say nothing good happens after midnight. Jordan Thompson scraped in by 3 minutes. A 3.5-hour marathon, overcoming Tennyson's rail yards. A 22-time Grand Slam champ and 3 saved match points. The 29-year-old pinching himself.
Thompson has done it. Yeah, I mean, I completely forgot I saved match points. But to beat Rafa in Brizzy at home in a quarter-final, I think it's my first semi-final on a hard court as well, so couldn't be happier.
Things are difficult after such a long time, and today the opponent played well, make me play one more ball.
Fears 12 months of rehab and unravelled, down 4-1 in the third. Nadal's troublesome left hip tightened, so did the stomach of those at Melbourne Park.
For sure it's not the same like last year at all, because when it happened last year, I felt something drastic.
Drastic was the Aussie in the second set tiebreaker. He's taken down Murray and Tsitsipas before. But nothing compared to this. Rafa taken down in front of Jude Law and his son Rafferty. A Hollywood ending in front of Hollywood royalty.
I was warming up and he was on the court. I didn't even know it until I actually looked at him. I'm like, oh, I was watching you last week on the screen.
Now for world number 14, Grigor Dimitrov. 8 months after breaking his leg in a horror crash, Australian Daniel Sanders had a brilliant start to the Dakar Rally. Nicknamed the Colonel, Sanders was second fastest on the bikes in a tricky prologue stage.
The sand was really soft and a lot of camel grass, so it was really rough. Really hard on my femur, which wasn't good.
Gold Coast two-time winner Toby Price was 8th quickest. Stephen, end of an era with David Warner now, who takes over from him. We'll find out.
Many discussions in pubs tonight. Lots and lots.
All over the country.
Go on, Ben. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Happy days.
Treating hearing loss could help you live longer, according to a study out of California. Researchers have found that people who wear hearing aids have a 24% lower risk of mortality than those suffering from hearing loss who used no devices at all. In a separate study, Danish researchers found wearing hearing aids could help prevent older people from developing dementia. Still to come, Queenslanders on alert as mosquito populations boom. The urgent health advice to protect against harmful viruses.
Right now it's 24 degrees here at South Bank. A few showers tomorrow, maybe some sunshine too. The weather forecast is coming up next.
It's that time of the year when there's a familiar buzz in the air. Mosquitoes are thriving in the steamy conditions, creating a heightened risk for the spread of potentially harmful viruses. It's prompted a new warning to protect ourselves.
Persistent, wet and warm weather. Perfect conditions for pesky mosquitoes to thrive in. An environment that also sees a heightened risk of an outbreak of diseases such as Ross River virus and the dreaded Japanese encephalitis.
It doesn't matter where you are, if you get bitten by a mosquito, that mosquito could be carrying one of these diseases. And some of those diseases are potentially fatal.
Health authorities warning the community to keep an eye out for symptoms.
Fever and chills perhaps to start with, but then getting a very severe headache and then going on to confusion and sometimes seizures and then maybe even unconsciousness if it's very severe.
Those in high-risk areas are eligible for a free vaccine to protect against the infection. But as we spend more time outdoors this summer, prevention is always better than cure. To protect yourself from mozzies, experts say wear loose-fitting, long-sleeved, light-coloured clothing, use insect repellent, limit outdoor activities between dusk and dawn, and clear breeding sites for mosquitoes around your home. Zoe Martin, 7 News.
A full weather wrap now with Laura. And Laura, it was a bit blustery out there today.
Yeah, it sure was, Steve, and it still is now. It's quite cool, the breeze here at South Bank, and despite the grey clouds overhead, lots of people are out and about enjoying themselves. Tomorrow we can't completely rule out another shower, but it should be less than we saw today. The wet weather and thick cloud had a cooling effect across the southeast. Temperatures were slightly below average. Wasn't it nice this morning? Brisbane only got to 27 degrees, the Gold Coast the coolest spot on 25. Onto the satellite picture, onshore flow is coming from a high in the Tasman, while a trough in Western Queensland is triggering shower and storm activity. That will see an extensive storm risk through the state's west tomorrow. And as that trough moves east, it will bring showers and potentially some storms to our coast early next week. That trough is also linking with a low pressure system in southern Australia, leading to rain and storms, particularly in Victoria. Back home, showers are forecast across the north. The potential for a storm for Mount Isa, 35 the top there. A medium chance of showers down the rest of the coast, and there's a widespread risk of a storm which could be severe across the southwest. Hervey Bay, 23 to 30. In the southeast, a nuisance shower can't be ruled out. Something light and possibly in the afternoon with building cloud. Like we saw today, the northern suburbs and the Sunshine Coast have a greater chance of seeing heavier falls. Checking the suburbs, partly cloudy in Redcliffe, a top of 29. The slim chance of an early shower in Kenmore and 29. Winds will ease back slightly in the bay tomorrow, but with southeasterlies up to 20 knots, smaller vessels might still give it a miss. This is how Sunday in the city is shaping up. A little cooler than average, a top of 29 with a possible light shower. Monday showers become more likely, and from Tuesday, rising instability means there's the chance we could see a storm as well. In the west, a shower or two and a top of 31 to start the working week. The chance of a shower increases from Monday on the Gold Coast, and much of the week is looking soggy. The Sunshine Coast has the greatest chance of seeing some falls tomorrow, lasting through the week. If you're planning a trip to the beach tomorrow, here's a look at conditions. The southeasterly winds made a mess of the surf along the open beaches on the Gold Coast. Combined with persistent showers which plagued the coast, it was not a good-looking day on the sand. The beaches are all back open after earlier concerns about runoff from the New Year's Eve storms. Tomorrow we'll see conditions start to ease, and the southern point breaks like Burleigh and Snapper Rocks will be busy, but worth the effort. The swell is decreasing. From mid-morning on the outgoing tide should offer the best of the conditions. On the Sunshine Coast, try Noosa National Park, Alexandra Headland. The pick of the spots will be Mooloolaba. Small tides to be aware of for boaties. Probably best to stay inshore tomorrow unless you have the right gear and skill to venture out. Plenty of jewfish in the creek entrances too. How's this from young Joshua Sharkey on the Gold Coast? It will still be quite gusty tomorrow, and that means it will be cool, so certainly enjoy that while we can, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. Thank you for that. And that's all from us for this Saturday. Thank you for your company. We'll have updates throughout the evening. I'm Steve Titmus from all the team. Stay safe and good night.